Indian classical music is traditional, rich, beautiful, intense, and yet relaxing and meditative. You and I are living a typical 21st century life with gadgets and information overload. How are we going to connect these two worlds? Or is it even possible? Or does it even make sense? Let us face some hard questions together. Can you imagine starting your Indian classical music journey without joining a vocal or instrument class? Do you think you can start Indian classical music exploration without musical talents? Do you think it is easy to get started with Indian classical music along with daily responsibilities of your busy lives? Can you imagine working professionals benefiting from Indian classical music? Do you think it is easy to groom Indian classical music lovers within your family in today's times? Is it easy to find safe spaces around you to emote, express, and simply bond over Indian classical music? Are you able to sit through or appreciate long Indian classical music concerts without getting bored? Do you even see the need to? Are your children supported enough on a regular basis to enjoy Indian classical music? Can you imagine a common man equipped enough to study or research on Indian classical music without being a music student? Can you imagine a wholesome Indian classical music exploration experience in the digital space? Can you imagine learning Indian classical music for any other reason outside of stage performances? Have you imagined the power of Indian classical music to heal our communities in today's uncertain times? Have you experienced the emotional and intellectual appeal of Indian classical music to connect with yourselves and others? Have you thought of long-term benefits of Indian classical music to de-stress and tackle anxiety? There are so many more questions we have in our minds. The not so surprising answers to all the questions is no. We tell you it is possible with love, with consistency, with technology. It is possible at ShrotaHouse. We are here to connect beautiful worlds and let the magic of Indian classical music blossom in every home. Subscribe to Concert Express, a classical journey where you regularly listen to Indian classical music and just open up and express while seamlessly learning about the art forms. Concert Express by ShrotaHouse is a program which is regular, relaxing, rejuvenating, for we believe that listening is the beginning of learning. ShrotaHouse takes each of you to the beautiful world of Indian classical music. And we hope to see you at Concert Express, a classical journey. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Guna Charcha's panel discussion on for Women's Day about women and classical music, organized by ShrotaHouse. We are here, the team of O Gaanewali, the female members of the team of O Gaanewali, to discuss women, classical music, our relationship with this form, our relationship with this show. And we're really excited that ShrotaHouse has invited us because we have these conversations all the time. It's just going to be an extension of our usual conversations, but on Zoom. So I'll just quickly introduce my co-workers, my colleagues and friends. We have Avanti Patel, who is the writer and curator of O Gaanewali, who's brought all of us together. So thank you for that special mention. Avanti's been learning music since she was 5 years old, and she's been training in classical music since she was 10. Her guru is Dr. Vidushi Ashwini Pandey. And then we have Rutuja, who is the other singer and who has the voice also of an angel, who has been learning music since she was 5 and has been receiving formal training since she was 9. Her gurus have been Dhondu Tai Kulkarni and currently Vidushi Dr. Ashwini Pandey. She also learns the harmonium from Sujiri. And then there's Mallika Singh. She and I are the co-directors of this show. Mallika has been a theatre practitioner, performer, artist since the past 11 years. She's worked with various groups. And then there's me, Meghana A T. I am also a theatre artist. I've been working for the past 10 years in theatre. I'm a theatre addict and a lover of O Gaanewali and all things related with it. So I'm just happy to be talking about it every opportunity I get. So Avanti, why don't you take us through what is O Gaanewali to begin with?
Okay, lovely. So, hi. Firstly, such a lovely online discussion that we are having today, and I'm really glad that we could do this. And thank you to Shrota House for reaching out to us. It's been a little hectic to bring people together, but we've somehow managed to do this session today. So, let's get into O Gaanewali. O Gaanewali, in fact, the name was suggested by Rutuja. And it's a show about courtesans or Tawaifs, as people know them. And these were women artists from North India, I would like to specify, because we're not talking about the Devdasis. So Tawaifs and courtesans from North India who performed Thumri, Dadra, and other semi-classical folk forms such as Hori, Chaiti, Jhula, Savan, so on and so forth, and also Ghazal. And this show traces the genre basically and how they interpreted and brought this genre to the fore, and also talks about their lives as artists, their lives as individuals, as women living in a very interesting time in history. I think they lived in a time when music and art was truly respected and endorsed by patrons of art, and they also lived during the British Raj and the Indian freedom struggle. So this entire timeline and how it affected their art is what we discuss in the show. So that's O Gaanewali.
That's nice. Now, since both of you have been learning music in general for a long time, and specifically this formula, both very highly trained, semi-classical as we like to call it. I'm curious to know. Actually, I don't think I've ever asked you this before in our offline discussions either, Rutuja. You know a lot about this style of music, and I mean, it's evident that you are a very well-trained singer. How much did you know about these historical things? How much did you know about the lives of these women who had, paved the way and shaped this form before you did O Gaanewali?
So, honestly, O Gaanewali was the reason that I got to know about the art and the artists in a more deeper way. And it's quite interesting that we have done 25 shows, and it's quite special for me to see that how each and every time I get to relate to the script, to the form in a different way, and I get a fresher perspective towards the way I relate to the form, to the music, and to the artists. And I really thank thank Avanti to take me on board, and it's been a very, very enriching journey for me to sort of try out things out of my comfort zone, because as a practitioner I've been like like music as is the core, and the craft and just the performing aspects has been on the fore. But O Gaanewali has let me explore different aspects of the performance, of the craft, the extra musical aspects too, which and the way I think when I see you and Mallika engage with the show, and I think it's every time I get to learn new things through the show, and I feel really nice in as in the script also I see that I say that Thumri ke saath ek rishta panap raha hai, and it does happen every time I perform, and like we perform the show.
Yeah, on that note, actually, this week we are doing 4 shows, and it's our 1-year anniversary of our live premiere, and it's 2 years since we had this hybrid premiere. And I mean, I feel the same way. I've seen this show 25 times performed, plus I've seen it however many times in rehearsals. And every single time, there's another line that will stick out to me, a line from a song where suddenly I'll realize a deeper meaning, or something that you all have written in the script, and I say, oh my God, no, I never thought of it that way. Like you'll just phrase it a slightly different way, and yeah, really, I feel that connection with the form constantly deepening. And now I'll come to the less educated in Thumri and Dadra, the ones who are getting truly learned through the course of this show, Mallika and Meghana, M&M. Mallika, how has your relationship, आपका क्या कहते हैं, चुमरी के साथ रिश्ता पनप रहा है, कैसा पनप रहा है?
Actually, you introduced me to Avanti. I should mention that actually. I don't get to say it to anybody. Only we know this.
I'm the Meghana from Mumbai.
Yes, so I had heard Avanti on Instagram. Randomly, I'd heard her singing, and I messaged Meghna because she was a friend, saying, "Ye kaun hai?" Because she's amazing, you know. And shortly after, I received a message from Avanti saying that, you know, Meghna needs has put me on to you, and I need some help. There's a show, and then that's how we got introduced to each other. And yeah, so since then, it's been a beautiful journey for me with the music, with all the research that Avanti's done for the show, her concept, all of that. Yeah, very enriching, I must say, because through theatre, I have been part of certain musicals that introduced me to this music in the past, but not so much in detail, because it would always be restricted to the story or the production or the part that I was playing, where I was required to sing or be a part of a particular scene where a song is being sung or a Thumri is being sung or a Ghazal. But with this show, I remember the days before we did our hybrid opening, our interactive show at Harkat. Before those shows, I remember the research and the meetings that I'd had with Avanti and Rutuja. So many things were discussed, so many musicians, so many singers. We watched some documentaries too. And yeah, it blew my mind. And Thumri and Ghazals and Dadra, that's all I was listening to that entire month. And it was surreal almost. So the show has become very special to me, and it's very close to my heart. And I thank my co-director now. It so happened that there were days where I wasn't available, and we turned to Meghna and she was there, and then we said there was no better option because it's just come full circle. And now we're working on it together. With every show is the topic is such actually that, you know, there's so much material that we still haven't even explored. And I like the way we have put the show together the way Avanti has written it also, that it's so flexible that with each show we can keep experimenting. With each show the songs keep changing, the singers have something interesting to do every show. It's not like a set list, that we keep singing the same songs. And also our interactive section in the show, which is a very important part in our show, where we open it out to the audiences and we share the research that we've done about these women, about the music. So because of this huge bank of information, we have so many shows we want to do with all the information we haven't even researched as yet, So that openness, that's what I really enjoy about the show, and that's what keeps me engaged with it, because I keep learning new things about the history. I never learned this. I never knew so many things, and so much music. There's so much music that we have that is a part of our history that we can present to the audience. So that gives me a lot of joy, that through this show there's a possibility to do that and keep doing it.
I like that a lot as well about the show. I think that's probably one of my favorite things about it. That's one of the reasons that you and I can sit outside and watch all 25 shows. There are a lot of directors with their shows. They love their show, but they are like, okay, abhi मैं देख नहीं सकती. मैं set up करूँगी, मैं जाऊँगी बाहर बैठूँगी. But last night we were at a show and I was just like, my mind, the only places my mind wandered was I was making a note कि हाँ ये हमें मुझे बताना है उनको, next time ये करेंगे वो करेंगे. But other than that, you all have my attention completely, and it's such a live show. It's a living show in every sense. Like what Mallika said, there's so much research that Avanti has already done and Avanti continues to do that keeps getting added to the show. And even the songs that are repeated, because of the form and because of the amazing collaboration with the other musicians, the other instrumentalists who are not on this panel today because they're men, but who are wonderful co-performers, in addition to being wonderful performers on their own. Like they're great musicians, but the ensemble creates something so alive and living that every show I'm like, hey, ye kuch naya kiya in logon ne, hey, wow, ye kuch naya kiya. And I'm very I feel very nice that I'm always surprised by what is going to happen. I think that's also commendable to the kind of team that has come together, the kind of energy that we have, the synergy that we have. But I want to hear more from Avanti about, is there something in your research that you've done that you want to share with us, or something that you wish everybody knew about? If there was one thing everybody has to know about this form or about these women that you've researched, or classical music in general.
One thing, that's a very, put me in a sticky place.
Yeah, that's too tough. That's
not fair.
Something.
Well, to put it very bluntly, Tawaifs were not sex workers. And this is something that we're doing through the show, because there's, and it's not to say that there's anything wrong with being a sex worker or anything wrong with prostitution as a profession, but because the Tawaifs had such a rich repertoire of music which was eliminated conveniently from their identities, I feel the need to say this. And the show also is, I hope, reiterating this fact that don't eliminate this repository of knowledge, art, music that these women brought. They're the reason we have it. This music didn't exist outside of the courtesans. So how are we just conveniently forgetting that these women did so much for the art that we consume and have been consuming as Thumri Dadra without bothering to credit them much?
I had no idea that Ghazal was not a sung form.
Yeah.
That Begum Akhtar started it, I was like, that recent? Like somebody who has lived at the same time that my grandmother was alive, that my mother was alive? Like,
see, it's more about like, it's not like she started it. She gave it a very specific form. Mm-hmm. So Ghazal as a form, yes, is poetry first.
Yeah.
And poetry, it has a meter. The poetry in Ghazal that we're talking about always has a meter. So meter ka matlab ek rhythm hai. So that poetry is already giving you a rhythm, already giving you a sort of tune, right? So ऐसे नहीं कि वो बिना ट्यून के, or it's not that they were ever recited without the meter. They had to be recited with the
It
meter,
was
but
never flat.
correct, it had that musicality or musical element to it. But the way she started improvising and the way she was composing these ghazals, it sort of set a precedent for the next generation of artists who then took that as their baseline. This is, and it was very much modeled on the way she was singing Thumri and Dadra, right? So it's not that she invented something. She basically just brought ghazal into this form of semi-classical music and presented it in that same musical format, which people loved. And it was all the more relatable because shairi or ghazal poetry has a sort of, a reveal. है ना कि एक थीम चल रही है और उसके एंड पे पता चलता है कि क्या हो रहा है. ओ सो दैट ओ मोमेंट पीपल आर जस्ट वेटिंग कि ओ हाउ इज दिस शेयर गोइंग टू एंड, हाउ इज दिस स्टोरी गोइंग टू अनफोल्ड, एंड टू हैव दैट in music and add a tune and improvisation as another layer to explore that meaning and context is basically what Begum Akhtar did. So
And it
that
actually
is
elevates that moment even more, because I'm just
correct.
waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we should also discuss, the topic of today's discussion is the youth listening to Hindustani classical music, which I think is a very interesting question. And if you ask me, I'd say no. It's a one-word answer, but I want to know what all of you also think. Do you think the youth is listening to Hindustani classical music?
I think they're listening to it surreptitiously. They don't know they're
What is
listening.
this very big word that you just used?
Like they don't necessarily, maybe everybody's not intending to listen to it. So it's not
Okay.
like you're going to Spotify and you're saying Begum Akhtar or
Haha.
Bade Ghulam Ali Khan. You're not doing that necessarily. But because of this show, for example, or because when I'm just, Googling, because I like to do that sometimes, I'm discovering how this form informs Bollywood music even so much.
Hmm.
Like I like the section in O Gaanewali where we have Mohe Panghat Pe is a Thumri that has been upnowed by Bollywood. And we all know it, we all sing along, and we all know Hamri Atariya Pe, and we all know Rangi Sari, which is not a Thumri, it's a Dadra, but we know a different version of it. So I think in those ways people are listening to it, or what Ali Sethi is doing.
With
It's
Ghazal.
officially a ghazal, but it's not exactly a ghazal anymore because he's played around with it. But I think in its pure form, yeah, probably not.
So, interestingly, I would have a different observation, and I say this on the basis of the kind of audiences we have been interacting through the show. So, especially when I see uninitiated youth listening and the way they are receiving, and as performers, we see a kind of an openness for them to understand what this form is all about. And when we perform, it also creates that, I don't have that resistance that will they appreciate, because the vibe itself with which they are keen to know and understand it, in fact, creates more openness to the vibe. And there's no the typical judgmental vibe that we as performers get to experience. So I think that freshness with the way the youth listens, and I must say that this is through O Gaanewali. I have got to interact with such wider audience, especially the youth who are uninitiated listeners. And I think because I have also seen that the way our music also responds to every venue, to every audiences, it depends on the kind of receptivity the audience brings in. So last night I got to see that the audience was not really an initiated listener to the Hindustani form, but the kind of it felt really welcoming that they wanted to know, and the kind of like we also could bring in a lot of like our expression was also very, very free, and yeah, that's what I enjoyed. uh, I enjoy whenever there's a less judgmental vibe, uh, and that you really get from an uninitiated young listeners, or listeners who want to know about the form. So their intent, their keenness and curiosity, that brings in a lot of freshness to the way we also respond while we perform.
So you're saying there is a difference because O Gaanewali is this kind of hatke, not just a concert, not a piece of theatre, somewhere storytelling, somewhere pure music, somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a form that's creating this receptiveness.
Yes, I must say that. Yes, it's because we are also making it accessible. We are not putting these things on a pedestal that, okay, this is something very complex, but we are also not making it more like, it's not about reducing the complexity or making.
We are not simplifying it just so that they can digest it better.
Yeah, it's not, but the way the format has been crafted, it allows them to feel that this is more accessible, we can appreciate. So this is what, like, it allows us to also present the craft without compromising really with the content, but also we are making sure that they are it's more accessible and not somewhere on a pedestal.
It's also something we mention in our show, that, you know, it's interactive, and the form and the way we speak. I've always associated classical music with, oh, there has to be a certain way to, you know, get into that world, or okay, there's a where do I begin, or what is the right way to, or can I just play it? No, there's a mood, there's a particular time. But with this show, I feel like we break those barriers somewhere. And yes, we've seen so many youngsters coming in and watching the show and really enjoying it, because music at the end of the day does something that we have to, I mean, you can't deny that. So, and then the way it's sung and the way it's presented also, okay, something's happening here. What is it? But then it's explained to you so simply that, you know, it's okay. You can go back home and research if you like. If not, it's okay. It's not like you have to, you know, become a classical music lover after watching this show, or, you know, you have to go crazy researching about what the Tawaifs were all about. No, it's not that. It's just there's some people who did this research. They want to present it to you, and it's easy. So yeah, I agree with what she's saying. We've made it accessible, but I think a large part of the youth may not be exposed to this also, because there's so many things, so many other things that are accessible now. Technology, social media, music, the globalization. I can listen to artists from all over the world, you know, at the blink of an eye. So
I have a question though, like this, what
Yeah.
you're saying, right? Because there's so much going on. And a large part of it is also people, the youth especially, wants to associate with what is cool or what is current, right? So
Yeah.
classical music is not cool,
No, not at all. I mean,
right?
if you have to look at it like that,
It's not.
no
Yeah.
one's ever presented it to anybody like
So
that. No one's ever.
now when a cool version of classical music comes, like a Rangi Sari, right? Where do we stand on that? Because see, it definitely, it may not be 50% boost in views of Shobha Gurtu's original Dadra, but there were some people who did go and listen to Shobha Gurtu's Dadra, for example. So it's an interesting mix, I feel, that where do we stand on this topic, where a Rangi Sari presented in the way that it is really not the way Shobha Gurtu has presented it. It doesn't give you the same vibe. It gives you a cool vibe. But it's still exposing the youth to this music. So I personally feel very conflicted about this. How do I make sense of a
No, you're
consumption
making sense, and
pattern?
I understand why you might be feeling conflicted about it as also. As a singer, someone who's been trained, who understands the value of it in a different way. But yeah, it's a 50-50 kind of thing. Had
है
there
ना?
not been a track, or if say people are at least whoever's creating it has heard it, somebody is taking something forward.
Exactly.
So okay, it's still around us. It's still there.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that there's a show. I'm trying as modest as I can be. The show that we're doing, where we can, without saying that, oh no, it should have not been, or they should not do it, or they should not create, or turn songs which have been created originally and remix them, or we shouldn't go into that space. I feel.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's safe for everyone to create the way they want to. But it's nice that there is this little thing happening on the side, where if you stumble upon it, you will know that
Yeah.
this is what it is, or this
Yeah.
is where it came from. So yeah,
I think there's something that might help the viewers that have not watched O Gaanewali yet. Because we are saying that, okay, we've made it accessible. Can you all share some ways that we have made it accessible? Like, what have we done? Because we've not remixed it. Right?
come and watch the show, yeah.
अरे सबको नहीं आ रहा, सब नहीं आ पाएंगे, कोई तो आ रहा होगा यहाँ पे कुछ कोने
How we have made it accessible, as in?
Yeah. Like, what have we done that's made this form?
I think forget the form. The language that we speak in is a very, very big part of it. Because firstly, someone is talking to you while you're listening to classical music is in itself not a very common experience, right?
Yes.
You'll very often find the musician come on stage, maybe telling you what they were going to present, maybe the name of the rag or the composition, that's it, which is also a big maybe.
Yeah.
And they just start singing and they finish after 30 minutes or after 40 minutes, that piece, right? So this is your exposure to the music. If you get what is going on, good for you. If you don't get, sorry. This is the experience that you have come for. It's the expectation. But in a show like this, I feel the language that we're communicating with our audiences is this exact language that we're communicating in today. English, right? It's so common for let's put it this way, Indian urban city dwellers to be speaking in this kind of mix of Hindi and English, that it doesn't feel alienating, it doesn't feel distant, it doesn't feel like it's something beyond my reach,
Unachievable. Yeah.
unachievable. It doesn't feel higher than where I am. In fact, it feels like, oh, okay, like we're just sitting together and talking about it. Okay. And that's so beautiful about it, I think. That's the first, for me, that was the, sort of important thing, which in fact Mallika had pointed out when we were trying to put the show together. I was a little stuck and two people helped me through it. I always see myself as a musician. I don't see myself as a writer, as a director and any of these fancy terms. It in fact intimidates me a little bit. And I was asking Mallika, should we have a writer who can, script it for us? Should we have someone to narrate it? Should we have this? There were many ideas we were going through. And she said, but, right now we're sitting and listening to this music in your house, in your living room. And the way you guys are talking about it, this is so beautiful. Let's keep this.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, and I didn't even know Mallika very well, right? Back then, it's like, okay, is she just trying to make her job easy by saying, let's just keep this? Or does she have a point? And then and the second person who helped me through this was Ashwini Bide Deshpande, our guru. And I was discussing this with her and I said, Tai, I want to do this and I'm stuck. I don't know. Can you think of a person who can help me? She said, you only right now. And with this casual, in Marathi, she said, "Tooch li na." And I just like, what? Come on. She said, no, I'm serious. You write well. I said, maybe
I
for
need to meet
myself.
Ashwini Tai and have a cup of tea.
No, but that is such an important thing, right? Because even this is another aspect of Hindustani classical music, maybe the training part of it or whatever. we are really like siloed into
The fact that you were feeling so stuck at that point, that
Correct.
how do I go about this? You know?
How will I write it? I am
Yeah.
not an actor. I am not a writer. I am not a director. I don't have this skill set. But I want to say something. And when I am trying to write what I want to say, it's going to come out in the most authentic way possible, is what these two things made me realize. And I started writing the script, not with the view of actually presenting it in that language, huh, by the way. I started writing it with the view that maybe we'll develop this into something. I'll find themes through it. Something will come out from it. And somehow, maybe it worked. I just, as I was reading it, I realized, okay, this is sounding nice. Like, people like this. So let's go ahead. And
To go back
that's
to
how.
what Rutuja had said earlier, she doesn't feel this judgment from the audience.
Yeah.
I think that starts with y'all. I think that starts with you are not being judgmental towards the audience. कि अगर आपको समझ में नहीं आया तो आपकी problem है. That's not. Y'all are coming from this place of authenticity, and that's what the audience is responding to. Because when I hear y'all speak about the form, when I hear you speak about, when the musicians also speak about their instruments, the history of their instrument with this form, I hear that love. I hear that joy. I feel like I want to be a part of this love and this joy. Like it's making you so happy, it might make me happy too. Rather than, oh, it will make me more cultured. Like that, that's a bonus. Like secondary tertiary.
Another really important thing is we are all young. This is a very important point.
I agree.
I'm saying that if we today, after 10 years, are decided to do something like this, I think times are changing like that. There is evolution. I don't think that today, I also believe that if the next round of 40-year-olds, which would be us, right? The next round, next round, because of the way things are changing and because of the way people are also becoming receptive towards the change around them, and accepting of a song like Rangi Sari, for that matter, it's acceptance. It's tomorrow people can turn around and say, no, we need to keep it as is. You cannot touch it. It's not allowed. But there is that. So I think that I like how our ideas and with the way your concept or whatever you had thought back then when you said that, I remember asking this question, that what is it that you want to say with this show? Like, what is the one thing you want? Why are you doing this show? Like, what's your idea? This is, and then we went into a much more detailed discussion of why, how, but mainly it was about these two singers, young singers, women singers, Rutuja and Avanti, both of them presenting this music. It says a lot by itself, that they could have very easily picked another genre, another way of going about their careers or whatever. But why have they chosen to go back in time? Why have they chosen to pick that part of history? So sorry, yes, to the people who might, who we think might be boring today if they try to do something like this. But
so then I hope that O Gaanewali is building a generation of cool 40-year-olds, right? Like with us, all of the people who turn 40 in the next 10, 20 years would be like,
manifest it. But Rutuja, we've not heard from you in a while. Would you like to share, add something to what we've been saying?
No, as in nothing more to add as of now. But yeah, like it's quite interesting for me also to see the way I have been working on my resistances through all these, through the journey, because we have our own sort of baggages or comfort zone in the way you would want to interact or you would want to present your music. So I think O Gaanewali has paved the way and challenged me in many ways to sort of break those barriers, break those inner resistances, and become more open as an artist. And it's through this show I'm learning and I'm sort of being more receptive and hopefully becoming more cool. As Avanti said, that building a cool 40-year-old का मेरा journey और easy हो गया. O Gaanewali, I must say that.
Hey, I have a question for everyone. When, like Rutuja mentioned that she had to, there are certain things that she had to overcome or break through as boundaries or barriers while doing this show. What would you guys, even as directors, feel that this is one fear I have with the show? Or maybe, let me put it this way, when I started or when we started as a group, what was the one thing you were like, oh, what if this happens in a bad way? Like a fear sort of thing. I'll tell you mine. Mine is that what if people just don't like it? Like, khatam. It was a very macro level fear, but it was a very real one because we were working on something so niche that I thought, what if people just don't like it? Khatam.
Yeah.
Any what ifs that you guys felt?
I wouldn't
Rutuja,
have,
even
I
you.
didn't have that at all of what if people don't like it because I had heard you all sing. It was too late to have that worry. Genuinely. Like during the Harkat shows, I remember the script work was still going on, and it was easy on us because okay, we had enough time for everybody to warm up to the idea that we need to speak to the audience, and okay, keep it casual. It's like talking to your friend. There is no, there's no wall between us. That is the main idea of the show. That the show is such that you can talk to us during the show. We will talk to you. It's a mehfil. This is how it was in the past. People came, got together. There would be somebody. There would be musicians. There would be a singer, and you listening to music. That's the evening. So that was the idea, and that is something that is still very close to me. So the intimate shows, like we had one intimate show yesterday. With this show, I really enjoy it when that happens because people are right there. So musically, so all the Thumris, Dadras, Ghazals, whenever they would be sung, and be like, everyone's going to love it. And as the shows go by, they will warm up to the musicians and the performers will warm up to the idea of speaking to, because it's also very new for them. It was very new for Rutuja and Avanti, I remember, to get into the form of making it casual. And it's two contrasting things, classical music and be casual. It just doesn't fall. You can't say it in the same sentence. How do you be? Everybody, spines become erect. You're listening to music, you're listening to it in a certain stance. You feel conscious. But to loosen up, so every time a song or a piece would be sung by them, suddenly that formality would automatically be turned on, and then you break it with, okay, we're human beings. We can sing, yes, but we're like you. There's no hierarchy there. So I don't know. No what ifs as such. Just like normal directorial things like lights
Mallika is a believer,
electricity doesn't go off, nobody fumble,
Yeah, I'm 100% more nervous about the technology, the mics and the speakers. हमारे साथ बहुत लोचा हुआ है. 25 शो में 25 बार 2500 चीजें उठपटांग हुई है. I think what Rutuja said last really resonates with me. That like I like to think of myself as really progressive and like, I don't have these barriers, hang-ups of the previous generation, but we have been taught them, right? And I know that it's not disrespectful, that my approach is not disrespectful, but I also do know that there are some people who see my way of dealing with this music and my approach to this music as disrespectful. Just the way somebody says you can't do Rangi Sari, I'm sure there are people who say you can't do O Gaanewali, you can't call it O Gaanewali, you can't use that word, it's wrong somehow. We've gotten some of these comments in the past. So I just feel like that it's not something that is a worry as much as it's a worry for me personally, that I feel like, am I doing something wrong because I'm being told this? But I know in my core, I'm not. I know that we are all, whatever we are doing, it's in service of the art. We are truly respectful and truly loving of the art. and to keep it untouched in a glass case, in some untouched vinyl record, in some music library somewhere, is not the way it was intended, ever,
Yeah.
ever. And if somebody tells you, I mean, what Begum Akhtar was doing, or what Gohar Jan did by having the audacity to record herself on a gramophone, it was something she was considered crazy for in her time, or Kesar by Kelkar. All of them were considered ridiculous.
In fact, all the men called them crazy for doing this, and the belief was that their voices were going to get sucked up by this new machine that they're recording in, because they had to put their head inside a tube and they had to scream. So the fear that the men were in fact spreading this rumor, the pundits and the ustads were spreading this rumor that this tube is going to take your voice away. Done and dusted. That's why we will never do this.
Yeah, I think that maybe some of the men from that time would not have appreciated this show, but I feel like if Gohar Jan, Begum Akhtar, Rasool and Bhai, if these women could be in the audience of O Gaanewali, or if they are from wherever they are in the universe, they're like, you go girl,
Yeah.
we're with you.
I also have this like random observation. I don't know if it's true. Do you think there have been more women members in the audience for our show?
There was one show we had that was an all-female audience, and it was
Yeah, but that
different.
was a
But other than
different show. Other than that, do you guys think we've had more women in the audience?
I don't think so.
Not that I've observed. No, I
No,
think
na?
it's always been like how people
Been
come
a
to
mix.
watch.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah.
a mix. It's been a mix. And it's nice. I like the fact that it's a
Yeah,
mix.
yeah, yeah. It's great.
I like the
Also,
fact
mix
that
of
it's not
age.
just
It's not only young
age
people,
also,
huh?
and of course. But yeah, I like that. It's
Though I
that's
think my
something.
favorite young person interaction was it was a show in Bangalore we had, and it was an amazing show. We were super tired. We had done 3 shows that day, and like I was not even performing, but my brain was shutting down. And after the show, I got up and I said, "Well, that was a great show. I thought now we have to pack up." And I have all these, boring administrative thoughts. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, "Excuse me, can you give me the set list?" I was like, "What?" He says, "Can you tell me the names of the songs they sang? I want to Google them when I go home." I was like, "Yeah." And somebody overheard and said, "Oh, can you give me that list too?"
Me also,
And then one more
yeah.
person came and said, "Can you give me that list too?" And I was just like, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Like, with pleasure. It was the biggest, I think that is the ultimate compliment and like the ultimate confirmation that we've done what we wanted to do and what we wanted to achieve.
Absolutely. I think Bangalore was one of the best experiences
Yeah.
for us as a team.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it because ShrotaHouse is from Bangalore.
Because Madhumita was in the audience.
Madhumita was in the audience, no. But seriously, because I think it was a very unique experience where prior to that show, we had done one at NCPA in Mumbai. And the audience at NCPA, as people know, is slightly more initiated, more literate about the forms, and they come for the music. They come because they usually go for things at
Yeah.
NCPA. Not
Yeah.
because Gaanewali is happening, Oh Gaanewali is happening. It's
Yeah.
because, oh, NCPA is this place where we go. So they know more about art and music. And like Rutuja said, that was one of those shows that the two of us were a little like intimidated, right? Firstly, it was the first time we were performing. And then we knew that it's an NCPA audience, so they know their stuff. And from that to going and doing shows in Bangalore, where people have no idea what genres we're performing, and they've come because they want something interesting to listen to, and they want something new to listen to, and they sat through it. I know that this one show, I was observing how many people took their phone out, and one person took their phone out once to check the time, and that was really amazing to watch.
Yeah.
That this entire audience is sitting and no one is looking at their phones, they're looking at us. I felt a little like strange also, that really, like, people are looking at us through this entire show.
I just remembered something from the show. I know what show you're talking about. And my sister had come for that with a friend. And my sister had already seen it at NCPA. And this was her second time watching it. And she said she didn't really get the time to tell her friend much. They were just planning something. And she said, "I'm going here." Friend said, "Okay, chalo jai." And the show started. And the show starts with a song. And these melodious voices are coming towards the audience. And she said, I felt my friend visibly tense up, like, "Oh my God, I'm in the wrong place. Like, this is not a place for me. Like, I am not the target audience for this show. And she was like, at the end of that show, this person was converted, like 180 degrees converted. They were like so happy. They were so, caught up in what had happened. Those were some really great shows for sure. Rutuja, what would you share?
Yeah, the third of Bangalore,
Yeah, that is
third show. Yeah, collective energy was really manifested and felt that, that high, I think I will never forget.
Yeah.
And that's what I like every time I chase that feeling. And I think and I do experience in parts like what we felt then, and it becomes like one responsibility on us that we need to feel that freshness every time we perform the same songs. Like not but yeah, some of the songs are but as you said that like the form allows you to explore uh, each
Different possibilities. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that pursuit somewhat that is the driving force that keeps
Yeah.
me going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. So we have, I think we've spoken a lot, and I am sure we could speak forever, but we do have to wrap up. But any concluding thoughts as we wrap up?
Yes, we have a show coming up tomorrow on the 11th of March in Thane. Details will be out along with this post, hopefully, or maybe if you go to Avanti Patel's Instagram account on her bio, you'll find a link to the tickets and lots of posts and posters of our show. So please come if you've heard this interview and you've not seen the show as yet. It will be lovely to have people in the audience share your thoughts with us after watching the show.
And
Yeah,
if you
those are my
want
last
to,
thoughts.
and if you want to invite us to other parts of the country, we want to come, we want to show
Or
Yes,
even
yes,
like
we
the
would love
world.
to.
the world. Yeah, please, the
Yes.
universe,
You
wherever.
you can get in touch with Madhumita and she'll put you through to the right people.
Yeah. We want to meet the maximum number of audience members we could possibly.
But thank you, ShrotaHouse, for having us. And it was a lovely, sweet discussion. I had
Yeah.
lots of fun.
Me too. Avanti, Rutuja, anything your concluding thoughts?
So yeah, ShrotaHouse has been doing this like somewhat which we also intend to make music more accessible to people across all ages, across all walks of life. And I think like I have been also witnessing ShrotaHouse's journey for so many months. So I think this is what hope this intent of making art more accessible, more open, reach out to many more practitioners of music and invite all more listeners to love music.
Wow. Concluding thoughts on my end are just that it's really nice that we're doing this for Women's Day, but I wish we don't have to do it just for Women's Day. I also want to mention that there are lots of shows that happen on Women's Day that have these topics at the fore or only take women artists to promote them. This show has been happening for 2 years and not for Women's Day. So it's a continued effort, and it's something that I truly believe in, and I know people in this group also truly believe in that. Yes, there is a day to celebrate women. Great, let's do that. But let's continue the effort in the other parts of our lives and in the other work that we're doing. And O Gaanewali for me represents that effort where I'm doing what I truly believe in, that is making music as accessible as possible and talking about the artists and the people that I think need more talking about. So that's what I'd like to end with.
Thank you so much to everybody who has stayed till here, and thank you for supporting us. Thank you, Shrota House, for giving us this opportunity. And
You can find everyone on Instagram. Please follow all of us. We are all, yes, doing a show called O Gaanewali, but we also have our own personal independent work that we would love for you to look at. So, Meghana A T, Mallika Singh, Rutuja Lad, Avanti Patel, all of us are on Instagram. You know our faces, you'll find us.
support the arts. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you.